For the first time in basketball history, an NBA and WNBA team are on equal footing in Indiana, and it's not because the Pacers aren't good. Rather, it's because the Fever have Clark. For decades, the WNBA was an afterthought to many sports fans living in the shadow of the NBA, but Clark's influence is so immense and unquestionable that even NBA headlines are beginning to feel secondary. The relationship between the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever is obviously bigger than any relationship between anything else, like as far as NBA and WNBA teams are concerned. Obviously, that is the one major relationship between these two brands, and there is a reason for that. Now that Clark is at the forefront, that shadow is disappearing. She's not just drawing comparisons. She's drawing fans' attention, revenue, and respect. Her presence has fundamentally changed the conversation both inside and outside the league. The Pacers are good, like the Pacers are legitimately good, and the relationship between the Fever and the Pacers isn't just a branding alignment anymore. It's a reflection of how Caitlin Clark is shifting the center of gravity. It's just one of those things where it's like there's only one WNBA team, one city, where the WNBA team and the NBA team are seen on equal playing fields. And I don't really care. When you look at how Indiana has embraced this, you realize how strategic this rise has been. The Fever are using every available platform to showcase Clark and her teammates, from local news spots to cross-promoted Pacers content. The goal is clear: create a basketball culture that's shared, not just a passing trend. For years, WNBA games came and went with little national fanfare. Now, Clark's presence generates more buzz than Luka's buzzer beers or Westbrook's heroism. First of all, or secondly, the fact that this indicates that Kat is unquestionably the face of basketball and that her attendance at a game is more popular than Luka Doncic's seemingly incredible and crucial shot until they all stunk up in the fourth quarter with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook having the most Russell Westbrook play I've ever seen in a couple of possessions. So, yeah, that's what it means. Realistically, it seems like the NBA should continue to promote Caitlin, the WNBA should continue to promote her and their other players, and the WNBA should promote these links to the Crofts League, because the best thing for the WNBA is that it simply turns into basketball. The numbers show that when Clark shows up, the number of fans is even higher than that of major NBA stars. And social engagement, ticket prices, broadcast viewership, and the best part, the NBA is fully aware of the cross-legal promotion we're witnessing. They know she's a draw, especially in Indiana, and this alignment of interest between two leagues that have historically been divided by perception is a milestone. The Fever and Pacers aren't just sharing an arena, they're sharing a mission, and in doing so, they're expanding the definition of what fandom looks like. In Indiana, basketball isn't just the NBA or WNBA. Because it's basketball, it's a thing when fans say, if you're a fan of the league was in the summer and the original objective was to find out what the Sacramento Kings, Sacramento Monarchs, San Antonio Stars, and New York were doing instead of the Houston Rockets, Houston Comets, and a number of other teams with similar names. I believe that the NBA is currently doing a better job of this, and the WNBA VA isn't doing a good job of many cross-league links. So the best thing for the league is, whether it's pulling up from the logo or simply walking into an arena, Clark is redefining what matters in 2025. A Fever game can matter more than a Pacers playoff matchup, which is power. This is the ultimate sign of legitimacy when a women's game is no longer a secondary option, but the main event. However, it's not just about attention, it's about growth. For decades, people have asked how to grow the WNBA, and the answer has never been gimmicks or slogans. She wasn't doing it alone. She's bringing the league with her, sponsors, networks, and fans are following because they're witnessing something they have never seen before, a female basketball player who exudes the same aura as the biggest names in the men's game. Well, you're from Iowa, so how influential has Caitlin Clark been to Iowa and to women's sports? I don't want to sound blasphemous, but I think it's Jordan-esque. She's changed again, and she's so modest. You When you look at her, you don't think she's a star or that she's going to give it her all, but she does. You can also see what she's done for women's sports, specifically the WNBA, but also for women's sports in general, even though there is now a lot of conflict at the top of the WNBA about whether or not it should be her or even WWE superstar Seth Rollins is taking notice, dubbed Clark's influence Jordan-esque, and he's not incorrect. She has Bird's mannerisms, Curry's range, and Jordan's crossover appeal. Perhaps the greatest indication of her influence is that Rollins, a huge star in his own sport, is now scheduling his streaming schedule around Caitlin Clark's games. This isn't about respect, but rather reverence. It's about cultural relevance. Rollins' name is moving from the sports page to the mainstream when someone like him, accustomed to commanding arenas of 20,000 people, view Clark as a peer in the entertainment industry. You know, the boundaries between leagues, genders, and platforms are beginning to blur coming out this year, and now she's going to be the top dog. This con artist is asking, is it Angel Reese, as to who deserves the credit? But I think it's incredible that we're even having that conversation. We also love what she's done and the amount of money she's been able to raise for women in sports, which is why I'm a Bears fan, so it's really cool to see people support her. I understand this primarily because all of my other social media accounts are public, but my Facebook is private, so whenever something happens with her in the news cycle, everyone is there to defend her, and I think she's fantastic. I can't wait to zoom out. Clark has transformed casual sports fans into ardent fans. She has introduced the WNBA to new people, not just for a headline. Not only did Clark raise the bar, but she redefined it. That's a metric of success that stats can't always capture. It's about presence, timing, and energy. Not only is Clark the best player on the court, but she's also the most important figure in the building. She's the reason rival fans show up, the reason new viewers stay, and the reason the league's future feels brighter than ever. When fans check game times before scheduling live events for an entire season, you're no longer niche. You're essential. We were already sports fans, you know, MLB, WWE, AEW, NFL, college football, NBA, you get my idea. But suddenly, it got us to look over here. I mean, I pulled up the Indiana Fever schedule last night because we're planning out a live schedule so we can start going live multiple times, even the haters. That's where the 3 times as many new fans have shown up. Kennedy Carter, who famously made fun of Clark last season, is now calling her a great player instead of questioning her skills. This change is difficult, especially coming from a rival like Carter, who thinks she's the best every time she plays. Carter's transformation demonstrates how unquestionably good Clark's game has gotten. We're not talking about flattering remarks, but rather hard-earned respect that only arises when a rival realizes you're unstoppable. But tip their cap, this is the pinnacle of Clark's influence, not in highlight reels, but in the hearts and minds of her harshest critics. So, guys, today we're going to talk about something really, really fascinating, and it's about Kennedy Carter. Of course, I'm a huge fan of the player, and I think that Kennedy Carter is a welcome change in some WNBA matters because the league's biggest skeptics are gradually becoming believers, because at some point you can't deny greatness and you can't ignore what she's doing on the floor, especially when every game feels like a moment. Kennedy Carter simply says, whatever the hell is on her mind, for better or for worse, you know what you're going to get with Kennedy Carter. By that you mean you have no idea what's going to happen day by day, but one major thing, every possession has a backstory, and this change is significant beyond the WNBA because it establishes a precedent. Future stars will not only inherit a league, but also a fan base based on legitimacy rather than novelty. Clark is laying the groundwork for what women's basketball can become when it is properly supported and celebrated without any reservations. She is a fantastic player, and I agree with her. I have buckets all season long, you know, and I sincerely believe that there isn't a Kennedy Carter. I understand that she can be a little toxic as a teammate, but I'm sorry, no other sport has a top ace player ever been kicked out of the league because they're a little toxic. If she were at the level of Dana Evans, even if she were at the level of, I don't know, Ty Harris, fair enough, but she is at the level where It's no longer a question of whether Clark is good enough. The focus has shifted to how big she will be, and the fact that someone like Kennedy Carter would acknowledge her in the same sentence while maintaining her own ego is huge. This is what true impact looks like, not just individual accolades, but reshaping how people talk about and participate in an entire sport. When rivals turn into fans and fans turn into ambassadors, you know something genuine is happening. And I do believe this is just a crazy situation. Like, who would have guessed that K would be the place where we'd hear the positive things about Kenny Carter on a neon strip. Like, I'm in the 2K community. I was around long enough to remember when he used to pretend to be Ronnie 2K's son, when that's how he initially got his hype. However, Kennedy Carter praising Caitlin Clark in any way, even if you don't believe we're seeing a generational shift in terms of not only talent, but also visibility in the way the game is packaged, sold, and consumed. Clark is more than just a player. She's a cultural tipping point. And in a sports world dominated by legacy franchises and old narratives, she's writing a brand new story that is already global, with fans from the US to Europe to the Philippines tuning in for her since, well, that's the biggest hype in the world. The whole basketball world warms up when a star like this emerges. We're not just watching the future, we're living it. When the NBA Finals come around, or even just when your team loses in the playoffs, you see fans of the men's team in that city turning into women's team supporters because, well, ball is ball, and we're seeing more and more of that, which is a really good thing for the long-term growth of the sport. On the women's side, it's a really good. One factor affecting the long-term growth of basketball as a whole is that people are unaware that the more people watch basketball, whether it be men or women, the more likely it is that they will fall in love with it. The more people who do fall in love with basketball, the higher the sport's standards will be, and the more the sport will grow, not only among men in the United States, but also among nearly half of the population who are NBA and WNBA. We're not just talking about legacy, we're talking about legacy in real time every time Clark takes the court, adding to the mythos. And for the first time, that myth belongs just as much to the WNBA as it does to any other league on earth. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't fading, it's spreading into arenas, television contracts, and countries where fans are just now realizing what she can do. It's pretty wild, so yeah. If you're a fan of Seth Rollins, you're probably wondering where his wife Becky Lynch is. They just showed her sitting next to Seth, so she's still in the WWE and hasn't left. I know there's been a lot of speculation that she would have left, but Shawn Michaels paused right now to introduce Triple H, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame last night. WrestleMania begins tomorrow night. Caitlin Clark isn't just good for the WNBA. She might be the best thing to happen to basketball in decades. And the craziest part is that she's just getting started. Let us know what you think. Are we witnessing the rise of a once-in-a-generation superstar, or is Clark just the first wave in a much bigger movement? Either way, if you're the reason why fans are watching basketball in the middle of summer, you've earned your crown. Already altered the game.